Hello, everybody, and welcome to another week of Insufficient Friends. I'm Kevin, she's Stevie.
Hi.
And we have another guest on this week. One of our other insufficient friends is here, Nikki Muenz.
Hi.
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Good. How are
Good.
you guys?
We're doing good.
Good.
Yeah.
Excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be on, although I didn't know that the Paul Buckley was going to be last week, so I was like, oh my gosh, big shoes to fill.
He is gonna love that you just said that.
So what we're talking about this week is everything paranormal, ghosts, all that kind of
Yes.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
But first, I have to say, so Nikki and I, we all three of us used to work together. That's how we know each other.
Yep.
Nikki and I still work together. Nikki is probably like our number one hype man for this podcast. Like every time we'll have
sure.
someone
Yeah.
random come through the office and she'll bring it up and she's like sending them the podcast.
I know.
I'm like, what's going on? I don't
We
even
had
know
a
these people.
wholesaler come through the bank, and he was just talking to all of us, and I was like, oh my gosh, my friend Stevie has this podcast. And then Stevie was like, hi, okay.
I know, like, thank God though, because like I don't promote it, so thank God someone is, I guess. She's just, she's our number one fan, our hype man. We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. She's
Live, laugh, love, and
yeah.
sufficient friends.
That's eat, sleep, breathe. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so how was your guys' week?
Good.
Good. What about
We
you?
had a busy but productive week in the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't do much of anything. It was basically the same, work, sleep, eat.
Yeah.
That's about it. But let's get right into it. Nick is a big ghost and paranormal fanatic.
Yeah.
We'll just say fanatic. Yes.
Yeah, and I feel like I was really nervous to talk about it because, like, in my day-to-day talking about finance and whatever people expected of me, like, I don't mind speaking, like, about that stuff, but this is, like, a hobby that most people think is just, like, a crock, so I was like, oh my gosh, to go on there and talk about this is kind of scary, but
I don't know. There's a
love
lot
it.
of
Yeah,
people. There's a lot of people that believe in ghosts. I
Right.
mean, my dad has told me stories about seeing ghosts several times. I mean,
Yeah.
you hear different things. I've not seen anything, but heard different things in the past. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's a show. Have you ever listened to Coast to Coast, the radio show? It's been on
Yes.
for a long time.
Only
and
a little bit, yeah.
But they talk about paranormal stuff on a pretty regular basis
they?
too. So
I feel like it's pretty popular right now. There's podcasts that are just dedicated to
Oh, yeah.
paranormal activity, haunted stories, and it's
Yes,
just,
yeah.
it's not like they're telling their own stories. They're just retelling other popular
Others.
stories just because people find that so entertaining. So I bet we'll be surprised I bet a lot of people will be very interested by all this.
Yeah.
Good.
so what got you originally into the ghosts, Nick?
So I had this friend in middle school that I played softball with. Her name was Kylie. We started watching Ghost Adventures, which is like the cheesiest of all the like ghost shows on TV. But it's still fascinating. So that's what got me hooked like early on. Because I'm the type of person, like, I need answers to everything. Like, if you put me in Indiana Jones' Crystal Skull, like, I would explode with information. Like, I cannot handle. I need to know all the answers. So that's what got me hooked originally, is like the why of all these things.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Did you have like anything happen as a kid or in your earlier that also helped with that?
Yes, when I was little, I don't know what age I was, like maybe 8, 9, like old enough to remember things. My childhood bedroom, I had this coat rack that my grandpa, who passed away, was like a woodworker. So he made this coat rack by hand, and it was in the corner of my room, and my bed was on the other side of the room. And I went to bed one night, and then I woke up in the middle of the night, just randomly flipped over. The coat rack was right next to my bed. I was like, okay, I'm just tired. Like, I woke up in the middle of the night, and so I reached out and touched it, and it was right next to my bed. And I was like, oh, I'm going to hide under the covers, and just like a kid, and flipped over, and then woke up the next morning, and it was back across the room. And so that was the first thing that I was like, is that real? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So that was my first, like, experience personally.
Did you tell your parents about that?
Yeah, they don't believe me. But also, I think we lived in that house so long, we still had like a lot of time to live there, so they didn't entertain anything
Okay.
me or my brother saw because
That's
there was other
understandable.
stuff too.
They just were like, even if it's true, let's act like it's
Yeah.
not. So if stuff like that were to happen to you now, are you like kind of scared or are you more like open to it? You're like, yes.
Oh, terrified.
Oh, you are scared. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, no, absolutely. I like the driving force between my interests and all these things is like the why this happens. But when it actually happens, I'm still terrified.
You're out.
Yeah, I'm done.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we haven't really talked about where we are, but we're based in Missouri, and there's some haunted things in this. Like there's haunted things everywhere, but there's a couple big ones in the state of Missouri. I know. Well, we're not too far from Jeff City, which is where the state penitentiary is. And since that was open for so long, like they do ghost tours there. I did one of the ghost tours there.
Yeah,
And
it was
a
built in
blast.
the 1830s. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy old. Crazy old in United States terms, I guess.
Yeah.
Like other parts of the world are way older, but
Yeah.
so yeah, the penitentiary, and we went on a ghost tour there last year for like our birthdays.
Okay.
And it was insane. It's such a cool tour because I am such a history buff. I like the history of it too.
Oh yeah. Me and my dad are the same way. We went on a
Yes.
tour several years ago before they like closed it to do some work, because I know they
Yes.
closed it a couple years
For
ago
quite
to
a while.
to do some work on it because it was like
And during COVID,
falling
too.
apart. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was really cool.
It is. Like, honestly, even the like daytime history tours are so fun and so interesting.
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, I grew up in Jeff City. Never been.
Yeah, I was
Never
going to
been
ask
there?
if
In my
you've
life?
been.
Okay.
No, and I want to go so bad. So maybe that'll be like a homework.
What we need to
assignment.
do is my dad wants to do this too, is the overnight ghost tour.
I want to do that too because we only did like the short one. So I want to do the long one. Steve, you can do it. I believe in you.
I just don't know about that one. Maybe I'll start. Let me dip my toe in. I'll do a tour, and then maybe we'll reconsider that.
Well, if you do the daytime history tour, let me know because I want to go again. Because it's
Yeah,
and you learn something new every time. Like I've
Okay.
done that daytime one twice.
I've never done the daytime one. I would like
Yeah.
to do that one too.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
most of the time you get like a different guide every time. So they all say like slightly different things.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting.
Is that one still like spooky, or is it?
Yeah,
just more
because you're still in
still in
this
a prison.
super old prison. Like there was so many bad things that happened there. Like even during the daytime, you still feel it.
Gotcha. Okay. I did have I went through a phase growing up. It sounds weird, but it's not that malicious. I was kind of obsessed with the thought of like old time. I watched American Horror Story a lot,
Yeah.
and like old time like insane asylums were just so. Obviously they were awful, but it was just so intriguing to me that
Yes.
how they treated people and
The
how
science.
what
Oh,
they
yeah.
thought
Yeah.
worked to
Yeah.
fix people's brains. Like it
They-
was
well, they basically
very
tortured
interesting.
people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as awful as it is, it was just mind blowing to
It
where
is.
stuff like that is
Yeah.
very interesting. And I would want to just. I bet you walk in and you're just kind of like, oh, this feels wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
it's
I would
just
love
like
to do
a palpable energy
Yeah.
in there that you can just feel it. But yeah, I mean, I think as humans, we're always like intrigued about like so many things that should be like taboo or not talked about. Like there's so many things like that, but I think we're just curious creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I've heard when I went on the ghost tour, they said that some people will see things when they're on the ghost tour. I didn't
Yeah.
see anything, didn't hear anything. Did you notice anything when you were on it? Because I
Yes.
did not.
Yeah, and I have like a video to send you guys too. It was very, very interesting. And the old women's block, which was only the women's block for like a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was after that. But we were walking down like the row of cells, and I turned a corner, and I just was like, I'll just get my phone out, record. So I recorded for like a minute. You know, there's dust and, you know,
Yeah.
things flying around everywhere. But then about like halfway through this video, this like, the only way I can describe it is like a disco ball like comes flying at you and it's like flashing. And I saw it like over my phone, but I also saw it like on the video later. I was like, what is that? Because there's so many things that people say are like orbs or
Yeah.
anything like that. But most of the time it's just dust or
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay. Well, we'll post that on our Instagram
Yeah.
at insufficient_funds, and that way you guys can see it
See
too.
what we're
We'll-
talking
we'll
about.
put that up there
Yeah.
so you guys can look at it too and tell us what you
Sure.
think.
And it's like open to interpretation. Like I will never claim to know what it was, why there
Yeah.
was a light in there.
Well, yeah, because I
There-
took
yeah.
pictures, and I took pictures when I was there too, and you see stuff in the
Yes.
pictures, but I mean, it's
Most
not.
of the time
it's
you
just
can
dust.
explain it away. Like it's a
what I
reflection.
expect is
or-
it's
yeah.
dust or reflection or something.
Yeah.
Because when you do the ghost tour, it's at night, so it's dark in there,
Yep.
and you're looking down these long corridors that are just pitch
Yes.
black.
So and naturally your eyes start playing tricks on you and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So that's why a lot of the stuff like in the pictures and videos I took, I was just like, it's probably whatever.
yeah,
But this one I was like, I don't think that's dust, like a flashing light coming straight at you, at your head. I was like, I don't think that was dust.
Yeah.
That was a little scary. Let's move on. Yeah.
okay. Well, that's interesting. I've never. The only instance where I remember anything ever happening, I didn't actually see it or hear it when it happened. I just had it on recording.
Really?
And it was when I was in college. Me and I worked at the student-run television thing, and we were me and one of the girls were doing a Halloween video about haunted places.
Yeah.
And we went to Stevens College, which
Yeah.
has a few stories of that.
So many, yeah.
And we were getting video. I was just getting video of outside of one of the buildings, and she started freaking out and like running away. And she didn't want to be there anymore. She wanted to leave. Like she got like terrified all of a sudden. And she said she saw something in the window.
Really?
Which I didn't see.
Yeah.
I looked at the video and I didn't see it in the video either.
Mm-hmm.
But at that same time, there was like this blood-curdling scream in the video that you can hear that I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But it was creepy.
So that would be considered like EVP, like electronic voice phenomenon. That's where like your technology catches someone talking or whatever that you don't hear like with your own ears. And it's the same thing as like there's things that you catch on your phone camera or stuff that your eyes don't see because they're just like technology and our human bodies are on two different wavelengths.
Yeah, we also when I guess I have another one. We didn't hear or see anything. It was just one of those weird phenomenons. As we used to go when I was a kid, there were several haunted places down where I'm from, and we used to go to a couple of them as like kids and take like video cameras and recording stuff.
Yeah.
And every time we would go to these there couple spots, we would have a camera fully charged. We'd have everything fully charged, and as soon as we got to this place, everything died.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we got out of it, it worked fine again.
That's super common in like paranormal research.
Yeah.
And no one really knows why, but like a common theory that I've heard is that when you're like a spirit or whatever you want to call it, or whatever your religion calls it, or whatever you are in the afterlife, like you need energy to be able to come through and like speak or manifest yourself almost. So people think that they can like draw energy from our technology sources and use it that way. That's like the most common theory I've heard about why batteries drain, because that is so common.
Yeah. I had heard that before too.
Yeah.
Even before it happened. So it was
Which is
cool.
fascinating.
Yeah. It's really interesting what
I
happens.
don't understand science. I don't know how that works, but it's super interesting.
Yeah, I never really have had encounters. I feel like I'm kind of, I guess, a skeptic, and I'm not open to it, so I ignore it, honestly, because I'm just scared and I don't want it to be real. But there was this one time. So my mom lives in Fulton, which they have. Oh gosh, I don't want to say the wrong thing. It's a penitentiary, or it's a mental hospital.
They have a prison there. Yeah.
And there's it's kind of creepy. They've got some really kind of like cool but historical but kind of creepy spots around Fulton. And my mom is like honestly same as you when it comes to paranormal activity. She watches all the shows. She's obsessed with it, and she would like go kind of like looking for it. Like she wanted something to happen.
Yeah.
She wanted to see a ghost or whatever. And one time we were on this road, and it's I forget the name of it, but there was just a lot of haunted stories about this road, and it kind of goes up to a hill, and the radio would always lose service, and we'd be like, oh, it's so scary. But we were going up to this like the top of this, I guess, kind of mountain thing, and I noticed on the way up like the side windows in her car, she has like the thing where the light will turn orange if a car is getting too close behind her. It kept coming on, and we're the only ones on this road. So I'm like, that's just weird. And we get to the top, radio turns off, and then we get on the way back down in the same exact little stretch. That yellow light just kept coming on, saying, like, there's something behind you, and we're the only one that we've seen the whole time driving on that road. But, yeah, I think I choose to kind of, like, ignore it. If I think something like that happens, even with that, I'm like, it was probably just because there were rocks by us, and that's why the light was going off.
You just try to explain it away.
Yeah, that's very much what I do.
Yeah.
That's understandable. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's got different beliefs on it and different theories on what it is. So,
yeah.
Okay. Other like what do you think is a good way to go? Because I've never really done anything in particular. We just kind of grab a bunch of stuff and go to those places.
Yeah.
So, and I always went with the idea that we're not going to see anything. Because I figure, don't want to get your hopes up. Because what I always hated is when you watch like those shows, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna see this, we're gonna see that," and then they make themselves think they saw something, and I never wanted to do that because that's always like, well, that's not, you didn't really see anything, you're just making it up.
Yeah.
But so we always went into the idea of we're not gonna see anything. But is there anything that you think you can like do to help see things or to?
So I always think of it like you're talking to a person, because if you truly believe in these things, like these were people at one point. So when you're going to a place, like if you're going to the Alexander Major's house in Kansas City, I'll keep this brief because I could talk forever about our night there, but so we went to, this is a really old Civil War house. There's a blacksmith shop on the property.
Okay.
So we went into the blacksmith shop with like our group. There was, I think, 6 other people with us, and then like the tour guide. So we went into this shop, and I approach it from like, there was a human being here at one point. He was running his shop, doing his day-to-day work, like just doing whatever a blacksmith does. I don't claim to know what a blacksmith does, but, and, helping the people on the estate, whatever. So I always went into it as like, you're just asking questions as if you're talking to another person, like not expecting anything, just like normal people. If they want to talk to you, they will. If they don't, they'll ignore you. And then, but there's people that are really aggressive about it. And I never understood that. Like there was one guy in our group that was like not screaming, but very loudly like demanding him like come through my recorder, and I was like, you're not doing it right. Like not to say that there's a right and wrong, but you have to approach it like tactfully, like
like
as if
you're
you're
person.
like,
exactly, respectful and everything
Yep.
else, like you would treat a person.
Yeah, so like our EVP recorder, one of the people in the group caught like the blacksmith saying like get out, but it was like screaming is how it like came across on the recorder. But after we got that, I was like, I wasn't scared or anything by it. I was like, this guy is so annoyed
He's pissed
that
off.
all these people are coming into his shop. So of course he's
yeah.
going to yell at us, especially if this one idiot in our group is like demanding things of him.
And screaming at him.
Yeah.
basically.
Right, he's gonna scream back.
So it's like you just approach it with respect and just like you're talking to someone else. And then technology-wise, you can use whatever you want. Like your phone, you can use actual like EVP recorders, anything like that.
Okay. So when it comes to like experiments, let's just go to that. Like stuff that people try to do to call the spirits, I guess.
So one of the newer, quote unquote experiments, it's not like actual scientific research, or some people say it is. I personally don't think it is, but something people are doing recently, and you might see this on like shows too, but so it's called the Estes method, and it's kind of a way to get a spirit or whatever to talk to you like indirectly, so that the answers you're getting are like real, like you haven't put your own energy out there of like what you want the answers to be.
Okay.
Like it's just genuine, like indirect answers. So one person will have a blindfold and like noise canceling headphones on, and then they'll have what's called a spirit box, which is just, it scans radio frequencies, but it goes so fast through each frequency it doesn't catch like people talking or, you know, normal radio stuff, music or whatever. So it's scanning those, because back to the theory before of like spirits can use energy from
Electronics and things,
technology,
yeah.
that stuff. So there's one person that has noise canceling headphones on, just listening to the channels speak, listening to the words that come through. If it's like longer, if it's over a couple sweeps, that's considered like valid evidence, because if it's scanning the radio so quickly, no like actual words should come through.
Yeah.
So if it's like a word or a sentence that comes through in multiple sweeps, it's considered like valid, I guess.
Okay.
And then, so one person, usually it's two people doing this. One person will be like on a different side of the room, different side of the building, something like that, asking questions out loud. So you're far enough away, you know, have your noise canceling headphones on, the other person can't hear what the other is asking.
Okay.
So like say Stevie has her headphones on, I'm across the room asking questions. She's just saying out loud what she hears coming through the headphones. And if I ask a question and then she answers it without knowing what I asked, that's considered like a really great answer.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
yeah.
I'm asking like, what year were you born? And then if Stevie is saying like random words that are coming through, but then she says like 1842, then you're like, okay, that was an answer to the question I was asking.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I just put out there. You know?
Right. You're not
Yeah.
you're not coming up with an answer because of something you thought you heard. It's literally like we're in two separate rooms almost, and you're just gotcha.
It's kind of like dual control.
Yeah.
At the bank. It's like the same thing, but for this you have two people in completely different spaces doing different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to do it. Like that kind of takes
It
out
really
the
is.
the
There's no
whole-
faking it.
Yeah, there's no
it's a lot
faking it when
harder
you're
to do
doing it
something
that
like
way.
that. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's also like so this is an experiment. It's more like a theory about why some paranormal things happen. So it's Amy and Adam, from Kindred Spirits, which is another like TV show. They talked about this on their show. They went to investigate a house, and in one of the rooms was this little boy, supposedly. Like they called him Zombie Boy because he was appearing in pictures, and like in a mirror or in the picture, he would look like his face was kind of like distorted. So people started calling him Zombie Boy.
Okay.
And like tourist pictures. And so they went there and they were trying to figure out, is this a real story, or is this something that people put so much energy into like creating this story that it started actually happening? So what they did is like a little mini experiment to kind of test their theory was they made up details about this little boy who was supposedly in this room. Like, this boy is wearing a red shirt, his mom abandoned him, just like random details that aren't true. They just made them up. They said them out loud in this room. And then they FaceTimed a psychic, and the psychic started picking up the stuff that they had just made up. So the psychic over FaceTime was like looking at the room, reading the room. He's like, okay, there's a boy in this room wearing a red shirt. I feel like he's telling me that his mom abandoned him, and just started saying every single detail that they had like created then and there.
Said.
So then it's like, what happened there? Like, how did their energy become like an actual thing other people felt? So then it calls into question, like, everything that happens in the paranormal field, did we create it all?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it explains a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's still some things that aren't explained. Like, I didn't think about my coat rack moving when I was little. It just moved by itself. Like, I didn't think about that at all. So it explains like some things, but not others. But it's interesting.
Right.
Okay.
It's kind of like just like a psychological game.
Yeah.
Like, if you think this is gonna happen, it just happens.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, with most like hobbies and most things that people are kind of into, like, there's always kind of like celebrities in that like realm. This is a little off topic, but who are some, like, are you obsessed with any like famous like ghost hunters? Any people that like, who's big in that paranormal world.
I wouldn't say like I'm obsessed with any of them, but Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures is probably the most talked about because that's probably the biggest TV show. And whether you think it's cheesy or not, like he does, like he's very overdramatic. But he is probably the most talked about person in the field because he has his museum in Vegas.
Okay.
So it's like a worldwide attraction now. So I would say he's the most talked about.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's so many other people. Like
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne's son has
Yeah.
his own paranormal TV show.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
there's so many people in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of shows. They've come to Columbia and Missouri several times. I know different ones have come to a lot of different
Limp
places here.
Mansion, Penitentiary, the what is it? The Elms Spa. Is that Missouri or Kansas? I don't know. It's somewhere around here.
Not sure about that one.
But yeah, there's so many in the Midwest too.
Yeah.
There's been some like a lot of haunting sightings at Roachport too.
Yeah.
Apparently, which I never knew about, but it was like kind of before they had their, you know, the winery and the restaurant and all that. But it was I looked up some stories and people said they would see like it was just a nice place to go walk and hike and stuff, and people would see like people in the woods dressed up kind of like very like centuries ago.
Yeah.
Women wearing big, the corsets and the big dresses,
Yeah.
and there was top hats and canes and all that stuff. But do you know anything about like the Roachport stories? Have you?
No,
done any
not
research on
Roachport
that?
specifically, but there are so many stories like of not just buildings that are haunted, but like land that's haunted, whether
Yeah.
it's by early settlers, like early colonial settlers,
Yeah.
or
Very-
Native Americans that have been here for ages and ages and ages. So there's so many different like outside hauntings
Yeah.
too.
That-
So I'm
yeah.
not surprised at all.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that almost makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because of course they were on this land at some
Yes.
point. That's
Yeah.
obvious. That's not something that it's not just a building that someone had to die in. This
Yeah.
is just land that everyone has been on at some point.
They put their energy into it. Maybe they were a colonial settler building a house for the first time, in this area. Like there was a lot of energy put into that.
And you also have a lot left over too from like the Civil War and stuff like that when you had
Yeah.
so many people
Oh,
die
battles.
in places
Can't
and
even
big
imagine.
battles and stuff.
Traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go to some of those Civil War like big sites and things, a lot of
Yeah.
times those are
I love battle
Those are
history too. Like
Yeah.
Gettysburg was fascinating. So there's so many hauntings like at those places too.
Do you have like a bucket list of places to explore?
Anywhere in Europe.
Yeah.
Because the history is just so fascinating. I mean, there's castles that
Yeah.
have been there for centuries, and when you think about
it goes back a lot farther than what I mean. The
Yeah.
U.S. like there
the
was people
settled
here before us.
yeah,
but,
the colonial U.S. Yeah,
But yeah.
and so it's just fascinating, like how many people have walked through the corridor of this castle, like at Versailles. I think I told you this. I cried when I went to Versailles because I was like, oh my gosh, like Marie Antoinette walked here. Like there's just so many people that have left such an impact on especially huge places like that like people gravitate towards. So I would say any big place like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Steve, do you have any desire to go ghost hunting or any place like that? Anything?
I don't know if desire is the word. I think that it's very interesting. Never thought about it this way, but it's just like history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily every single person you see, or if it's a ghost or an entity, that doesn't mean that person was like an historical figure, but it's just all it is the past, people that lived in the past. I just think I'm not like a horror person at all.
Yeah.
That's not my favorite genre by any means. But I think I would admire from afar.
Yeah.
I think I'm more comfortable with that. I did watch when I was obsessed with American Horror Story. Like I watched the first season, and that's all about like, it's kind of like a mind game of like who's a ghost and who's a real person, because they
Yeah.
just had so many different people in the show. Some were dead, some were alive. I remember after watching that, I was in my room and I was like, if there's a ghost in here, it's okay, just come out. I just want them, like but no, I don't think I will be attending any ghost adventures anytime soon.
Just maybe stick with the daytime tours.
Yeah, that's my first step. That's
We need to do that together. That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely with people. I would never do it by myself.
Well, I mean, you're always in a group, so like
Yeah.
even if you were to go with
Yeah,
like just you're
that's
in a
true.
group of people. Still.
People,
Yeah.
but like the fact that there's people I know there is comforting.
Yeah.
We need to do that. But I want to do the overnight one though. I want to do the overnight.
Okay,
ghost
well,
tour
you and I
instead.
will do
Yeah.
that, and
There
then
we go.
Stevie can go on
I'll
the
leave
daytime.
after the day. I'll be like, have fun, peace and love.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And also they didn't they just recently they uncovered some old cells or something in their head. Did
Yeah,
you see those when you weren't, or had
Yes.
that been?
Yeah, we
after?
did. So they had already started like digging those out when we were
Okay.
there last year. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. One of our last birthdays. And so they're the original cell blocks. Like
Yeah.
back when the prison was like new to Missouri. Missouri was brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a unified state. They only had like 15 cells. Like
Yeah.
15 prisoners, one guard. So they just started like digging those up because it's like under the base of
Yeah.
what is now
Of the other,
prison.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is they just uncovered those not too long ago, which was really cool. And
Oh yeah, for
I
sure
haven't
within the last
been-
5 years. Yeah.
I haven't been back since they did that, or since
Yeah.
they did a bunch of renovations. When we went, like I said, it was pretty. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it was still standing and it was fine, but
Yeah.
you could tell like it was old. Like
Well, and
there
there's
was paint
places
falling off the walls,
especially
and
after
stuff like
the
that. So
tornado or whatever.
yeah, the
there
tornado
years
came
ago.
through several years ago.
There's
and
places
that
they
did
won't
some
let you
damage
go
too
anymore.
and stuff. But
Yeah.
which is sad that.
It is, but they've renovated a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
They've opened back up a lot of spaces there. So
And they've started to try to use it more, like they use it for
Yes.
concerts sometimes.
Yeah,
and stuff like
exactly.
That too. So
I
they're
think-
trying to
think
turn
this-
it into like a thing in Jeff
Yeah.
City, which is fun.
the
so.
city is trying to like pour more money into it,
Definitely.
make it more of an attraction.
Yeah, Jeff City's in its glow up era for sure.
It is.
They're
it really
doing a lot
is.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I go back home, I'm like, oh my God, that wasn't here last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like new restaurants and new little, like they move stuff around, put it
Mm-hmm.
in better areas. They're definitely, so I'm not surprised by that, but
Yeah.
that's good. They need to do that.
Yeah.
They need to
It's-
represent,
it's
they're
good.
the capital.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good that they're kind of building it up. It's nice. Gives you something extra something more to do. So
Definitely. Maybe it'll be a place I recommend one day. As of right now, it's not. Sorry.
okay, well, I don't. Is there anything else we wanted to? Is there anything else we were going to go over today? We're not too. Is that about it for today?
I know Stevie had talked a little bit about like the murder mystery type of genre too.
Okay.
Right. Well, I just was talking about how I watched and we're not 100% sure how to pronounce it, Murdoch.
Yeah.
Trials,
Murdoch
murders.
Yeah.
And I just started the series, but it's a pretty interesting story so
Which
far.
yesterday he was convicted and
Oh,
sentenced
no
to life in
way.
prison.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Well, he was sentenced yesterday. He was sentenced
Yes.
to 30 years to life in prison.
Oh, but
without
that won't
parole.
be in the documentary then.
Not
No,
yet.
Because they.
I mean, if they come
Unless
out with
they
another
make a
season
second
or something,
part.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, sorry for the spoilers, guys, if you weren't paying attention. Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was, I'm glad,
Yeah.
but I am kind of shocked because it kind of, and I'm sure we all, unfortunately, we've all kind of met someone in our lives where it's like, your family, because of your last name, like you're
Yes.
probably never going to get in any trouble for anything that you do. And that part is kind of what I guess related to the most just starting it. It's about this guy who is very irresponsible, has a drinking problem. He's in high school and he hurts a lot of people because of his irresponsibility. Like he's just very irresponsible. But because his parents, own a law firm and all this stuff, he doesn't really ever suffer any consequences. And I feel like that's relatable. Like hometown, everyone knows everyone. There's just that one family that is like has all the power.
Yeah.
And but besides that, it's definitely a very like that stuff could happen to anyone.
Yeah,
You get a
it's
bunch of
crazy.
teenagers and they drink too much and or not even teenagers, anyone. You
Yeah.
make a bad decision and people's lives are changed forever.
Yeah.
So it's less more about ghosts and more just about murders and
Yeah.
kind of the
true crime that's
true
very
crime
popular.
genre.
Yeah.
Very very
Yes.
popular.
Which is like enthralling in the worst way.
It really is.
And
It is,
I always
it is interesting. Like
It is,
it's
it
very
is.
interesting. That's why these court cases, like his court case, lasted 6 weeks, and
Yeah.
it's been a big, like a whole big thing.
Yes.
And people get really into them.
Yeah. Like when I got the New York Times notification yesterday that like the jury had decided pretty quickly, I was like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
it took less than 3 hours for them to
Yeah,
decide
which
that,
is
which
crazy.
is crazy for that
Yeah,
big
in
of
a court case.
ordeal.
So
yeah.
I was like shocked, partly because I had just finished the documentary.
Yeah.
I know that is
Yeah.
wild. That what timing? It's almost like they put it out knowing
Yeah.
that was gonna happen.
Oh, I'm sure. They did. I mean, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
They tried to get it out when the case was going on.
Not
I'm
to
sure. So
conspire,
Yeah.
but I do have it's almost weird, like you said, enthralling in the worst way, because I do get kind of obsessed with
Yeah.
those stories, and it feels bad because like these are not good things that happen
We're
to these people.
glorifying like
Yes.
killers. I think as a society, the United States glorifies a lot of things
I know.
that probably aren't great. But yeah, killers in general, like we glorify the serial killers without always remembering like the victims, the
Yeah.
lives that were impacted. But then also like I think to myself, well, can this help like teach me? Like if I meet a person and they're giving off some of those red flags, like will I notice it? I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
you
I
never
don't know because it's all. I mean, there's a lot of red flags that they talk about that are similar. But there's
Yes.
also a lot of things that are just different, like about every single person, and some of them
Yeah.
you don't ever know.
it's almost impossible.
But as far as the like glorifying, I know a lot of places some places have started not even releasing the name or picture of the person who the attacker or the killer or whatever, so that there is
Yeah.
absolutely no glorification for that person. They
Yes.
just talk about the victims, which is I think it's a personally a good idea. I
Yeah.
don't know how some people, everybody's different on what they think about
No,
that.
I agree.
But I don't know that a lot of people who are killing people like that necessarily have I think some of them might want the glory of it, but
Yeah.
I don't know that all of them do. So
They don't all have like the God.
yeah, it's not
complex or-
Right.
that. So I hope that it maybe help. If it
Yeah.
prevents one, then it's of course
Yeah.
right.
worth it.
Well, and I feel like
Right.
we've heard all the serial killer tropes that we can hear. Like we've heard everyone.
Yeah.
So now it's almost like you said, our society's moving more towards like remembering the victims and stuff. So I think that's good as a whole
Yeah.
for us to do that.
Which, by the way, the serial killers is it the FBI says that there's like more than 100 active serial killers or
Oh,
something
yeah.
in the U.S.
It's-
right now,
it's
which is
terrifying.
crazy to
Awesome.
think.
And there were a lot in the Midwest.
Yes.
I
Oh,
remember
great.
seeing a map on like Twitter or something. I don't know if this map was accurate, but there were a lot of dots in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's just
If they know they're all active,
because
I know.
because
Come
they don't
get
know
'em.
they don't know who. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole point is they don't know who
Like
they
they're
are or
taking
anything.
Oh,
like cases, like
okay,
crime
I see
scenes,
what you
and
mean.
yeah,
it's not
They're-
they don't
they're saying-
know.
Yeah, no, they're
who
saying
they are.
that like
It's on
okay,
average,
these
there's
these
this many
these killings all
murders.
kind of
Yes.
match, and we think that this could be a serial
Gotcha.
killer.
like
So
these 5 women have all been murdered at truck stops or what, like whatever the crime scene is. They're like gathering that data.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
I know, right?
Great.
just another thing to watch out for.
Yeah.
If you truly thought about how terrifying real life is,
Oh,
you'd never
it's-
go outside.
It's crazy.
I can't.
I know.
It's crazy.
I talk about this all the time. I hate driving.
Yeah,
Yeah, we know.
We don't. People don't talk about it enough. How dangerous it is. I hate
Yeah,
it. I
it
hate
is.
driving. I would never do it if I didn't have to. It's so scary. Anyone could do anything at any minute, and
Yeah.
like your life is over. It's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we all go on vacation. I just went on vacation not
Yeah.
that long ago, and I got on a plane.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are terrified of airplanes.
Right.
But
they're
it's-
safer than
it's-
cars.
You're more likely to die
statistically.
Sure.
in the drive to the
Yes.
airport than you are to die on the plane.
Yeah,
Like it's just the only thing is when I was talking about this with one of the guys at work that because he's a big plane person and he's like you have a lot of crashes. So yes, there are a lot of crashes, and you're more likely to die in those crashes because they happen so often. But the only difference is if you get in a crash, you're much more likely to survive than if you get into a plane crash because
Yes.
pretty much everybody always dies.
yes,
That's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen that often.
Right.
yeah. But
So-
at the end of the day, you're still in a 10 flying box.
You're still in a
sky,
you're still
which
in a,
in and of
in a tube
itself
that's flying
is
through the air.
scary.
It I get that. I get that. Especially there's been several incidents recently that have been like in just the last couple months. There's been several close calls for like planes almost hitting each other at airports and things like that. So
Really?
it's yeah. You're hitting your
Oh.
mute button, Steve. Yeah, you're
Sorry.
talking and you're hitting
I
the
was
mute
about to take
button.
a sip of my coffee, so I hit my mute button, but I was talking. I was going to say, I'm flying in about 2 weeks now, so that's good to know.
Yeah,
you.
us too.
Oh, yes.
Again, there hasn't been any incidents.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I don't think I'm
But-
scared of planes.
I'm
It's
not-
just-
I'm really
I get
not
why
either.
other people
Yeah.
are.
I
love
totally
plane
get it.
rides.
I
take a
like
nap.
flying.
Me too. No, I'm
But-
not. I don't. Turbulence doesn't really bother me. Like
No.
I've always been better on planes than cars.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I don't have a problem with flying. I like flying, but I understand why people are afraid of
Yeah.
it because it could be
1000%.
Yeah, I get why it could be terrifying to some people because you are you are in a tube in the sky where you're not supposed to be and just soaring through the air at several hundred miles an hour. So yes,
Yeah.
I get that.
Real life is scary. Going outside is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't. I live by the motto that if I was afraid of everything, then I wouldn't do anything. So I
Yeah.
just
Oh, and
wanna-
I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
But when we talk about it, it's definitely an
it's
interesting
it's
point of view.
terrifying. Yes,
Well, that's
but-
why I just always try to be nice to others and live my life
Just
how I
hope for
want.
the best.
Because
Yeah.
and
you
lighten
never
the
know.
mood. Lighten
Yeah.
the mood.
Yes.
Just
Oh, yeah.
have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Life is fun.
Okay. Well, I think we got through everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's gonna be it for us, everybody. We will talk to you again next week, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye.